to episode 17, a very special Monday edition of the Masters Muscle Podcast. We are 15 weeks out from the Masters Olympia, and what better way to kick it off with 3 competitors as well as Vinnie on the way to the Olympia. Vinnie, take it away.
What's up, everybody? So we're coming live. These guys right here are coming from the UK. What time is it there, guys?
9 o'clock.
9 p.m.?
9 o'clock.
9 p.m. So, we all have different stories on how we're here in this situation, facing the Masters Olympia now in 16 weeks. My own story has been a long road. It took me 16 years to turn pro. I turned pro at the Masters Nationals here in the States in 2008 after 16 years of trying. And then I retired, started competing again in the Masters, and see my name on the list. It's been an exciting road. So it's your hour, guys. So talk to us. Let the fans from the United States know who you are. And Trish, how about you go first and just tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from, how you got to England. I know you're originally from the United States. So Trish, take it over.
Thanks, Vinnie. And again, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio, so Buckeye State. I came over in my 20s, so when I was about 22, I came over here to the UK. I was actually studying to be a dentist at the time, and for those of you who went to sort of university, I had to work to pay for my books. Back then, biology book secondhand was sort of $100. So I had to work part-time while I was at university. And I was given the opportunity to come over to the UK for work. And of course, when you're at university and you've got an employer that's offering to pay for you to go to the UK to work and pay for you to go to Paris and France, you're going to say yes. So I did. And then I just stayed over here, didn't finish my degree to be a dentist. So upset the parents with that one. But, so that's how I ended up over here. But to touch on my background with competing, it took me a while to get my pro card. Not as long as you, Vinnie. I didn't have to compete 16 years of chasing it, but I've been chasing it since 2018. And then I got my pro card in 2021 at Gary Udit's show, which was the Nationals Masters Collegiate.
Oh, same show as I did.
Yeah. And that's the show. But saying that, 2 weeks prior, I did the Universe, and I came dead last.
Wow.
At the Universe. Last call outs, last. And where it's different over here in Europe, when you're in the last call outs, they don't have you go back on stage. They just let you go. Only the top 5, even as amateurs, they bring you back out. But over there, in the States, they have you come out even if you're sort of like last. And I remember sort of saying, do I leave? And they're like, no, you don't leave. And I was like, oh, no, I was only asking because they send you home over there in Europe. So no, came dead last. And then I was so upset sort of coming off stage. I'm like, what? I just didn't bring the right package, didn't bring the right conditioning. So then it was 2 weeks later, which was Gary's show. And I was like, right, I am not leaving without a pro card. I said to my coach. So we just put the pedal down to the metal, ate fish. I hate fish.
Yep.
Ate fish and it just come off. Did that show. I ended up winning 3 pro cards, 3 overalls, and then 2 pro shows the following day, which I wasn't even expecting to do the pro show. I was actually meant to fly back home. I was just expecting to keep chasing it. You don't sort of expect, I'm sure you can relate that to Vinnie when you won your pro card. Were you expecting it?
No. So when I did the Masters Nationals in 2008, Steve Weinberger came up to me and said, what's your first pro show you're going to do? I'm like, no, Steve, I'm doing the Nationals in November. This was a warm-up. Like, no, Vinnie, you just turned pro. And it just wasn't sinking in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're chasing it for so long. Yeah, so I can understand what you're saying. And so between the two shows, did you stay in the States or did you go back home?
Yeah, I did. I stayed in the States. And then it was really, really grueling 2 weeks. But
Sure.
It was worth it, clearly worth it, because, you know, I've managed to sort of do that. And I remember Sandy coming up to me after the show, hence why I'm dark, by the way, because my feedback was that she preferred me dark.
Okay.
But yeah, she came up to me after the show and she's like, are you doing the pro show tomorrow? You need to do that show. And I'm like, I'm due to fly back. You know, I'm due to fly to Detroit and then Detroit back to the UK. So that's sort of not in my, you know, I wasn't sort of expecting it. So I just thought, no. And then at about 4 a.m, I thought, actually, I'm going to have a look at the flights. Because my daughter was with me at the time, sent my daughter back to Detroit. I phoned a friend of mine saying, you know, who I went to high school with, do you think you can drive here? If I compete in the pro show, you can drive and come and collect me and then drive me back so then I can get a flight back to the UK. Yeah.
Cool.
And then it was literally rush, you know, into the tanning and then pulled out of makeup and then literally thrown on stage. I wanted to do 3 pro shows, but they would only allow me to do the 2 because by the time I got there, they've already started lining up. So I wasn't able to do one of them. So I could only enter 2 shows, and those are the 2 shows that I won.
Awesome job. Great weekend. And if you didn't stay for those 2 weeks, you wouldn't be looking at the Olympia. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you know. So, but yeah, so that's how I sort of got my pro card. And then I'll hand it over to Kelvin. Would you like to share?
Okay. Yeah. So I've been competing since 2006. I was 23, all them years ago. Seems like a long time ago now. To be honest with you, I was just competing like in sort of like other federations. It wasn't really, I didn't even really go to get a pro card. I was just doing first timers, beginner shows. And then I just sort of like fell into it. I kind of did it just sort of get my personal training up and get some experience so I could show that I could compete myself and obviously get myself in shape. And then just got more and more into it, and then just kept on competing, kept on rolling, and I was doing open bodybuilding as an amateur. I got to sort of like national level, international level, done some international shows, and then it wasn't really until like 2017. I know it's the classic bodybuilding, which everyone had always said to me for years, you've got a very classic build, but I was just sort of sometimes getting beat on overall size. It's some of the bodybuilding shows at the top level. So I was like, that's perfect for me. And I remember seeing the guys in the pros and thinking, not just that arrogant, but I was kind of on that weight as much as anything. I was already sort of competing at that weight, so I thought I was ready for that. And the weight limit for the amateurs, because it was 10 pounds lighter, I think I'd won like the NABBA England, and I think I was weighing like 222, 224, and then the weight limit was 207. I just thought, from an already sort of winning physique, I know I could have taken some more off, but I thought I'm not going to be able to get down that far.
How tall?
And then I got up at 5'11".
Okay.
Yeah. So my weight limit for amateurs would have been 212, and now I'm in the pros. It's 222, which is kind of where I was sitting. That was about perfect for me. But obviously, I had to get a pro card before I could compete as a pro, so I had to go back down. But 2018, I opened a new gym. And I'd had a little bit of downtime. I'd not really been pushing the food and the training as much like that. So I just naturally dropped a bit of weight. And then I decided I was going to get ready for some shows. And I was prepping a lot, actually. Sorry?
No, we didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. I've got something in here. Yeah, so I was prepping for some shows. And I noticed that the weight limit had moved because I was prepping a lot for the classic division. And I told him what his weight limit was, and he said, no, they've moved it up 5 pounds in all the height classes. So then the 212 seemed a little bit more realistic. I know it doesn't sound much, 5 pounds, but at that point, it really was. So I thought to myself, right, well, I'll just diet it and see where my weight sort of is coming in. And it was just hovering just above that. So I was able to just drop that extra little bit towards the end, really come in depleted, made the weight, and then I was fortunate enough to actually get my pro card at the first attempt. But that sounds like, you know, I done it straight away. But in all fairness, it was my 55th job as an amateur, so it wasn't quite as straightforward as that. It was it taken a long time. I just hadn't really gone for a pro card, because in the open division, I knew that I was just going to get out muscled. And when the classic was obviously available, it was like, that's just perfect for me. Sorry, I keep dropping my earphones.
And
I'm not used to having these earphones in.
What contest did you enter that you earned your pro card?
It was the Amateur Olympia in the UK in Coventry.
Okay, and you won your class, or you won the class in overall?
I won the class, and I come second in the overall. As there was, it was 3 pro cards available in that one. And then I think a week later, I'd already booked my flights to go to Alicante, because there was an amateur show and a pro show. And like Trish was saying before, it got to that point, I had made that weight where I thought, right, this is the time. If I'm going to do it, it's now or never. So I already booked the flights to Alicante, thinking, well, if I don't turn pro, I've got another chance of doing the amateur show. And then I was fortunate enough that I did turn pro. And obviously, I did my first pro show in Alicante. I got in the top 6 at the first show.
Nice.
And then the week after, I did the Dennis James Classic, and I got second there to a guy that I think he just placed 11th at the Olympia. What's his name now? I can't remember. Hoffman. Hoffman, I think it was. If you've heard of him. I think he's done the Olympia a few times. Okay. David Hoffman. Yeah. Then we had obviously all the COVID stuff going on. I come back in, I tore my bicep like literally 5 months after turning pro at a water park of all places, not even training. And so I spent sort of all of 2019 recovering, and even into 2020 when I competed there. I had a bit of a shocking year. My head wasn't really in it. I still feel like I was kind of recovering from the injury. And obviously with the COVID thing, everything just felt bad. I think it messed a few people up. It was just something to focus on, and I did it. And then last year, I had my best year. I was very close to qualifying for the Open Olympia. I got 3 seconds and a third. I actually finished tied for third in the point system and missed out on a tiebreaker.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool. So, Sergio, how did you tell us a little bit about yourself, your road to becoming a pro, and now to the Olympia?
Yeah, I think I make my. I'm a bit like Kelvin. Bodybuilding to me came more like most people as a hobby. I moved from Portugal to the UK when I was 26. Start gym like most people just to stay fit. And then within a year, roughly, about training, he was actually a bodybuilder friend of mine now that guided me into do my first bodybuilding show, NPA, the Natural Physical Association, which I entered my first show, I won. And since then, pretty much I never stopped. But I've always took bodybuilding, competitive side, not very serious. I was the guy that would do like one regional a year, qualify for the finals. Missed out on the British title a couple of times on the naturals. And then it was pretty much towards, I wouldn't say the end, mid of my career as a bodybuilder, that I got in contact with Portuguese bodybuilding through a few friends of mine. So I started competing in Portugal as well as UK. And that's how I pretty much turned pro. I became Portuguese champion, overall champion in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And then 2019, I turned pro on my second attempt. So my first attempt on a pro card was an open qualifier, which there was quite a few names. I mean, Ian Valerie was one of them. He was on the same show. I think he placed third on that show. And I had to wait another year to give it a try. But actually, I won. I didn't win an amateur Olympia. I actually won the Portuguese championships, so I became overall champion on the following year and got my pro card.
Cool.
But actually, I live in the UK. Even though I represent Portugal in the FBA Pro League, I still live in the UK.
Okay. And what's the connection to all three of you? How do you guys all know each other?
Well, we don't live that far from each other. I met Patricia in the gym where we actually go. Kelvin, I came across Kelvin. I don't think we ever competed against each other, but I've come across Kelvin in a few of, can't remember if it was NABA or PCA shows that we were competing in different classes. Yeah.
You guys have a lot of different organizations over in the UK, correct?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, there's quite a few.
What are they besides the IFBB?
You've got NABA, you've got the PCA, you've got UK BFF, which is the IFBB Elite. And then you've got some other sort of like smaller little things like what's the one NFM
UK.
Thank you. Yes, that's it.
You got pro.
IBFA as well. IBFA, NAC, loads.
Yeah.
WABA.
Okay.
There's quite a few here in the UK. It's quite a few.
Cool.
So when you guys first heard of the Masters Olympia coming last year, did you guys have to think about it, or would you already say, "I'm throwing my name in the hat"? Did either of you? Was there any hesitancy for any of you?
No, I was probably the first one to email in.
I think Vinnie might have beat you. Vinnie might have beat you.
You know,
I actually, Trisha, it was actually your husband that told me about the show.
He
told me about the show, so I wasn't, in all honesty, I wasn't planning on competing anytime soon. I had a few health problems towards the end of last year, halfway through my prep to my last show, and I decided then that I wouldn't be competing anytime soon, or probably ever. So the Masters Olympia actually came at the right time, because since then I've been recovering health-wise. I feel much better now, and this Masters Olympia just came at the right time, right opportunity. So I said, why not?
So I have a kind of different kind of question here, because from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, so I always like to know, like, what different countries eat when you're prepping. So like here, like we have cream of rice, we have your rices and brown rice, white rice, potatoes. What's your staple diet like? Like what kind of carbs, what kind of protein do you guys use?
I'm probably boring.
I would say the same, Vinnie.
Yeah, I don't have cream of rice. Mine's just sweet potato or jasmine rice. Turkey and fish at the moment is my sort of thing.
Okay.
Salad, tomatoes.
Kelvin, what about you?
I tend to vary my protein up. At the moment, I'll be having steak every day, salmon, eggs, maybe 2 chicken meals, and then sometimes just for variety, I'll just I'll swap in different fishes like cod, tuna, haddock. And sometimes it almost feels like I'm having a cheat because I'm tasting something different, but obviously it's just as lean. And then in terms of carbs, it's just rice, oats, sweet potato. I tend to eat more potatoes when I'm on prep because obviously there's more volume of food, but the carbs are quite low. So you can have 200 grams of baked potato is only like 35 grams of carbs. And obviously, if you have 200 grams of rice, it's a lot more. So it tends to fill you up more. So I tend to eat more potatoes when I start getting hungrier.
Cool. Sergio, you're a pretty big dude. What's how tall are you and what do you weigh?
I'm 5'9". Currently, I'm 251 pounds. This is pretty much the lightest I've been off season because a year ago I was roughly about 293 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
293.
293. Yeah.
That's two of me.
That was actually the heaviest I've ever been, and that had some consequences towards halfway through my prep when I was about 270 or something, 275 to 70. Then I was diagnosed with heart failure.
With what?
Heart failure.
Heart failure?
Yeah. It was not good news, to be fair, but these things happen. But since then, I've been on medication, and I had to lose weight. So I'm currently at about 250. But I do think that I find myself now in a better starting point for this Masters Olympia.
Sure.
I'm much fitter. I mean, I do cardio literally every day. I'm much fitter. Been pretty much on very low foods for the last 6 months. And again, I think I'm in a very good starting point. And by the way, when we're talking about turning pro, I think you said, Vinnie, that you turned pro as a master.
Yes.
I turned pro in 2019 when I was 40 as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so for me, it's been like bodybuilding came late to me. But you know, as long as the body keeps responding,
since we're all masters here,
Yeah.
I think I'm the oldest one. I'm 56. I just turned 56 a couple of weeks ago. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you guys?
45.
Yep. I've just turned 40.
40. Oh, you're the baby.
You're the baby.
I am.
46.
46. You don't look it. You don't look it.
Thank you.
Nah, because you know, it's like so many
Charming.
people like think like the older you get, you can't do certain things, and I think we're defying what what people think you should be doing or not doing when you're older, right? So like going to the gym, we keep ourselves healthy, and you know, it's a lifestyle.
It is, and it definitely over here in Europe, because we don't have master shows over here in Europe. In fact, the last November in Italy was the first Masters amateur show for Masters athletes to turn pro. And that was last year in Italy. It's going to be again this year in Italy, but there aren't any master pro shows over here in Europe. If you want to turn pro, you have to compete in the open.
Interesting. You're talking about in the IFBB, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And if you want to compete, you compete in the open. You know, I've been over to Alicante, and I came 6th in the Europa Pro Show in the open, because we don't have, like I said, the Master Pro shows over here in Europe, and it's cheaper for us. If you live in UK, it's cheaper to get a 200-pound flight to Italy than it is to pay 1,200 pounds for a flight to the US. Yep. You sort of look at the logistics, and it's a shorter flight, 2 hours compared to, depending where you're flying, 8 hours.
Yeah. And how long's the flight to Romania for you guys?
I think it's about 2.5, I want to say.
It's
about
going to be 7 for me.
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like 3.5, 4. I think so. I went last year. I'm sure it's 3.5.
Did you go to Bucharest last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, folks, what is the buzz internationally? Because when you look at the lists, all the different lists, it seems like maybe they're a little bit heavier on the American side. So there's a lot of buzz here in the U.S., but what's the buzz like internationally?
I think it's because it's new, as I sort of touched on earlier, that we don't have the sort of Masters pro shows over here, but there's different sort of aspects to it that it's also new because it'll be the first time you've got other divisions in it,
Right.
where it's not just the open, it's not just bodybuilding. You've got, the classic coming into it. You've got the women's divisions coming into it to where, none of that was there. So there is excitement with regards to, having all the new divisions in it. So I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in there.
Because here in the States, we have a lot of podcasts that are talking very negative about it. And it's just not real something I never listen to them. I just get people telling me, did you hear this? Did you hear that? I'm like, I don't want to hear it. They're just not giving it the respect. I mean, all around, I don't think that the powers to be wanted the big names like the Jay Cutlers or Kevin Lerone. I don't think they were going for that. They were going for guys like us, competitors that are actually in the Masters, but not on the, the circuit. There's a couple of guys that are going to be in it, like David Henry, Darren Charles, bigger names. But it's like a little. I think a lot of the talk is pretty disrespectful, and it, it should. I guess because it's the Masters Olympia, and in the past we have bigger names in the show, and so it's a new generation, it's a new era, and they're getting us, and we're gonna put on a good show.
Yes, we are. I think, everyone's going to have an opinion about everything, aren't they, really? It's just, you get a bit of what I touched on earlier over here in Europe. You get a bit of ageism, maybe not so much with the men, but with women, you do tend to sort of get a bit of ageism, sort of like competing, especially when you're sort of competing in the open, you can get a bit of that. But, I think as we're all athletes and we're all being judged on our physiques anyway, we do tend to have thicker skin. I've seen some of the negative comments like on social media with regards to, some people saying, oh, it should be 50 and over. But it's sort of what do you define as sort of like, Masters? When are you going to sort of, say that, oh, okay, if you're 40, you're not a Masters. It's, everyone's going to have an opinion.
Here in the United States, I remember, I started competing as a teenager. So I go back a long ways. And I remember when I was 18, one of my training partners, this guy, Ronnie, he was 40 going into a Masters show. And the Masters back then was 35 and over in a local contest. So Masters has been 35 and over since like the 80s.
Yeah.
And now in the pros, I say, well, when the Olympia was in existence for those years, I think they were like Vince Taylor won, I think, 5 or 6, and
like 92 on, yeah.
So
90s run.
I think that was 50 and over. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure. Or 40 and over. It was 40 and over. So there's a few pro shows here in the States that have 35 and over, but not many. Mostly just all 40 and up, and even 60 and 70. I mean, you go to Gary Udit's contest in Pittsburgh at the Masters, Pittsburgh Pro, you got 70 and 80-year-olds competing. There's not many, but man, these guys are pretty youthful for 70s.
It is. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I'm just thankful that we have this opportunity, especially to be chosen. When you sort of asked the question earlier, I don't know if maybe you beat me to it, Vinnie, with sort of applying, but I was definitely one of the first people to sort of apply. And then they sent an email back saying, okay, can you send a sort of what you call a resume? We say CV over here. So I'm like, oh, So I had to redo that and then send that back in. And then I'm like, did you get it?
Really cool.
So, Kelvin, when you saw your name on the list, were there any surprises, any names that really spoke out to you, or?
I've got to be honest, I probably recognised about 6 of them in terms of I'd competed against them. Obviously, I recognised Darren Charles, and I think there was Canberra. I think he won the Arnold's a couple of years ago. So I recognised a couple because of previous results and a couple because I've competed against them. But in the other classes, I didn't know Dave Henry was doing it, so that was a little bit of a surprise. So I just thought it was a good standard from the people that have come. Like you say, the people we're looking at, I mean, Jay Cutler's got nothing to prove, I suppose. I suppose certain other people haven't, but I think Jay Cutler coming back for a Masters Olympia is probably something that he's not going to be that motivated for, whereas there's other people who would love to, win this Masters Olympia, and that would be the topping of their career ever. You know what I mean?
Yep. Would it be wrong to say for the 3 of you folks, that obviously not including Vinnie, that it's maybe less about the money and more about actually stepping on stage and being, with the excitement?
Yeah.
If there was no prize money, I'd still be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what? I wouldn't be doing bodybuilding if I wanted money. That's the point.
Yeah.
Well,
It is a very expensive hobby.
Very expensive. Very
Yeah,
expensive.
very
Yeah.
expensive.
Hey, at least you don't have to have your makeup done.
yeah,
What are you talking
the
about?
tan's enough.
And Trish, let's be honest. What do the bikinis cost? Because I've heard astronomical figures on the bikinis.
Oh, God.
They are, and I'm very, very lucky because I'm with Angel Competition Bikinis. You can use Trish 20, a little plug there. No, they are very expensive. Anything from mine are about $1,200.
Oh,
My
wow.
bikinis,
Wow.
because they're fully
Sequins.
blinged out with crystals.
Bedazzled.
Yeah,
Little bling.
but and you've got to have that love, I think, definitely for the sports to do it. And like you sort of said, I love Romania. I competed in Romania in 2018. And for me, it's almost like I'm doing sort of like a full circle, sort of going back, because my first pro qualifier was Romania. And I won my height class, but I came second in the overall. So I'm going back and I want redemption.
There we go.
Redemption in Romania.
So Shaun and I were talking earlier, and he was going to ask you, and I'll ask it, Shaun, because a lot of the viewers, I have a lot of family members who watch, and they don't know the difference between bikini and wellness. Can you explain that to the viewers that don't know?
There's a big difference, really. I think bikini, we're like the sort of babies of the muscle, and then you slowly move up. It's not a step up from bikini by all means. It's more, it sits between, I think, between sort of women's physique and sort of figure. It's in between there, but not as sort of, trying to think of how you would say it, not as sort of, you've got the muscle, but not as conditioned. So,
Yeah.
So that always confuses me when you see okay, all right, but not as conditioned. So how do you train for something and not try to get into condition? It's confusing. I think about how do you do that? Because I know Sergio and Kelvin are our main goal is to be the best
get
we
shredded.
Can.
Yeah, you want to come single percent body fat.
Well, it would be so much easier because bikini is actually quite hard, believe it or not. You sort of think, because you've got to sort of get the condition, but you've got to make sure you don't get too conditioned, with regards to you don't have your hamstrings that start to sort of come through and you start to go stringy, and you don't get the sort of feathering on your glutes when you walk, because you've taken it sort of too far. So it's fine.
I'm trying not to get that. I'm trying to get that.
Say that again.
Since he's trying not to get that, I'm trying everything to get that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's where you don't want to be too shredded, but you over here in Europe, you can go to some of the amateur shows, and the bikini can be quite sort of different to what an amateur bikini would be in the States. There, sometimes the comparison is night and day. They do tend to be a little bit more conditioned over here in Europe. And it's down to whoever's closest to the criteria on the day who get the actual points, wins, or pro card.
Okay.
Because
sorry.
No, Kelvin, please.
I found it hard when I'm prepping girls that some of them come in certain areas really quick, especially upper body generally, and then it's the legs that take ages to come. And I've had girls too lean upper body, but too soft in the lower body, and I've almost had to get them too lean, and then 3 weeks out, fatten them back up, for want of a better expression, and then the fat goes back on a little bit more evenly. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I'm one of those. It takes ages for the legs. It takes ages around the sort of like glutes, but definitely I think that's just how women are.
Sergio, when you saw the list for the men's open, was there anybody on there that excited you, surprised you, maybe saying, oh, wow, this person's competing. I'm going to be on stage with XYZ, and you can't say Vinnie, but anybody else?
Yeah. Max Charles, if he's listening, I'm going to beat his ass. But then Kamal, I was quite impressed because he's a 212 winner.
Sure.
So he's doing but I mean, how old is he now? 50 or something? 51,
I think.
51,
yeah.
I do have to admit it, in that list he's probably the guy that is ahead because of his recent wins and history. And then I was impressed to see Josh
Lenarowitz.
Yeah, because he's been out of the circuit for a few years. So
yeah, had a brain issue is what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody said there was something. I've heard brain issue. I might be wrong, and I apologize, but I've heard brain issue a few times.
Okay.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, as I said, like I recognize a lot of the names, but I would say Kamal, Josh, and Max Charles were the ones that they impressed me the most in terms of names. So yeah, that's the guys I'm aiming to beat.
So have you guys started your prep yet? I know we talked offline, but is anybody officially in prep yet, or?
Yeah, I'm officially in prep. Yeah.
Kelvin, you're not saying anything. Does that mean
I've dropped a few kilos, but I'm just doing it kind of relaxed. No, I have started it. I'm kind of doing it as a relaxed. I bulked up to my heaviest weight this off season. I think I've gone to like 267, 268. My cap's 222. So I play to lose. So I've just sort of taken one meal off. I was literally having a meal minutes before I went to bed. So I've just tamed it down to 6 meals. And just reduce the carbs maybe by about 20%, and I've just dropped about 7 kilos quite comfortably. So I've kind of started, but not like officially feeling like I'm right on it. I'm just sort of like comfortably just dropping back down to where my weight sits more naturally, if you like.
You know what's funny about that? What I find funny about that is like you're 40 years old and you still have that youthful appetite. You could eat 6 meals a day and not worry about it. I'm 56 and I'm struggling to get 6 meals in a day. Like I don't know if Sergio, you're starting to experience that.
No, I'm with you, Vinnie, because as I said, for the past 6 months, because I've been focusing on my health, I've not been eating like a bodybuilder. I've been eating 2-3 meals a day, pretty relaxed, not counting macros or tracking calories whatsoever. So now that I'm on prep, I find myself eating 6 meals a day, and I do not enjoy it.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like because the age, like I'm older now, and I find it is definitely an age-related thing where I am naturally losing my appetite, and I have to force myself over the last couple of years. And I find in the off season, it's easier to eat a larger meal, and then have maybe 3 or 4 meals like that, opposed to when you start dieting, believe it or not, I'm having a harder time eating more meals smaller, if that makes any sense. 'cause I don't have that appetite. So, but I'm starting to get it now. Like I think Saturday was like the first time I actually felt hungry. Like, you know, that feeling you're hungry. And I was like, oh, that's new. I haven't felt this in a while. And so I knew like, and let me ask you guys a question. So in January, when you guys were thinking about this, because this is what my mind, like it played with my head a little bit. When they originally said they were going to announce the names on Monday, April 24th, and then, you know, they moved it to the Tuesday. In my head, like I think about like prepping, and I funnel it into 16 to 12 weeks. And that's my mindset, is I'm ready to go at that time. And at 18 weeks out, I was ready to go. And I think because of the date of the name and the announcement of who's going to be invited, I was like, okay, if I get invited, I'm ready to go. So I kind of started prepping Monday before they announced it. Did you guys experience the same thing? Like, or are you now like, your name's announced, now you're mentally getting into it? Or were you mentally into it 2 months ago leading into that? Like,
I did have plans. I did have plans on competing anyway. I wasn't certain what show, but like I said, I felt at this age this was my last chance to make some improvements and really push my body weight up. Because going on with what Sergio said before, I think weight is probably the biggest issue as you get older, holding that extra weight, and that's where the health problems come in. So I'd made my mind up to I've been so close to qualifying for the Olympia last year. I made my mind up to sort of have a push, and then had a look at shows. And ironically, the shows that I'd looked at were literally, I think the week before and 2 weeks before the Masters Olympia was announced. I think it's the 19th and the 12th of August. I was looking at shows then. And then I just went for the Masters. So I was already sort of in my mind thinking about ready to go. And I'd say to me now, 6 meals, I'm actually feeling quite hungry. I'm watching the clock thinking, I better not eat yet because otherwise I'm going to run out of meals before the end of the day. So I mean, I'm pretty active on my feet all day, but my appetite's still really good. And because I got so used to having 7, which was a struggle, 6 now feels like easy.
Gotcha.
7 meals. Dude, you're not waking up in the middle of the night and having a protein shake, are you?
No, I just they're all solid food, to be honest with you. I think I maybe had cream of rice and whey before training. Everything else was solid food.
He's young. He still has an appetite. He's not old like us.
Exactly.
I'm getting there.
Now, let me tell you, Kelvin, I thought the same exact way. I turned pro at 41, and I thought I had this short window to be a pro. I'm 56, and I can tell you that I've had one of the best. I can tell you, like in my career, over the course of years, I've had growth spurts. And I would tell you, in the last 4 years, I've had probably one of my best growth spurts from 53 to 56, 52 to 56. And it's such a fallacy. It's and I'll just say it this way, to be frank, it's complete bullshit when you hear people say you can't improve when you're older. And the only people that are saying that are people who are younger. So
yeah,
people who are older,
I mean, what would you say what would you put that down to though? Because I would suggest, and I would think from my own processes, if you've been doing it as long as we have, 20 years, obviously if you start at 50, you'll gain muscle, no problem. But if you've been doing it 30 years, what have you done differently to gain the extra muscle?
I realized that what I was doing wasn't working anymore. And I came to it like a halt. So I started to train completely different. I started adding exercises in that I had never done before and doing things more like time under tension, slower rep ranges, taking the weight off my joints. And all of a sudden, I just started to improve. And in like 2019, I came back and I competed in the Masters Pittsburgh Pro and won the 50 and the 40. And then the pandemic happened. And we all had the same situation. I chose not to compete with the shows that were available, and I used it more. I'm going to take advantage of the off season. And I had 2 great training partners, guy Vinnie Q and Billy Scarnati, and we just trained all year together. And I took advantage of just incorporating a different rep scheme to, like when I was 40, I could still pick up say a 50-pound dumbbell and curl it and get a pump. I do that today, I'm going to tear my tendon. It's not going to work. So I got to figure out, how do I get to 50 pounds now to make it work for me? So I just figured it out, and probably, I completely changed everything about how I trained. I trained differently than I did when I was 40. I probably trained just a touch bit heavier in a different way with lower reps, and then using one set, as the guys call it today, a top set. I don't know if you guys call it in the UK a top set. Guys in the United States call your last set a top set, whatever you want to call it. My last set is usually an all-out failure set, but very slow, very strict, and very meticulous. I'm meticulous about how I do everything. And I think that you're going to experience the same thing when you get a little older if you're still in the game.
To be honest with you, I kind of feel like I'm not far off that point, because I felt like I used to be able to do a couple of warm sets and go straight in. Now, sometimes I can be almost training for half an hour in terms of including warm-up sets and little pre-activation exercises I'm doing. I feel like I have to do half an hour. And then once I've got warm, I usually never feel good. But there's times where the first couple of reps, I pick up a bar with no weight on, and I'm feeling stiff and everything's aching, and I feel like, God, I'm going to have a terrible workout. So I've got nothing in me.
16 years for more of that to happen. Wait. Sergio, how do you train? Do you train very heavy? Do you train light?
I wouldn't say I train light, but my training approach always been focusing more on form than actually weight. I mean, I have to say that I move some big weights, but within form. Someone actually said to me the other day, "I've never seen you struggle," and I say, "No, I do struggle, but I do struggle the weight I can actually move within a certain rep range." A good example is when people ask me what is my one rep max. I don't have that. I don't think I've ever tried. As a bodybuilder, I need to get the reps under the tension and just exhaust the muscle tissue. I don't want to feel the weight on my joints. I want to feel on my muscle tissue, and that's pretty much how I've trained all my life. Even as you said, Vinnie, last year I was at my heaviest and I was 44. So the idea that you cannot grow past a certain age, it's relative.
Yep.
And I felt that this year, if it wasn't for the health issues, I would be able to keep pushing in terms of body weight. And I felt good. I felt strong. But I tend to rely more now on machines than free weights. That's pretty much what changed a lot of my training.
Yes.
I love squats, but I squat probably like once every couple of months. I'd rather rely on, on hack squats and movements like that. When it comes to presses, again, the plated machines for me are preferable towards the bench press or the dumbbells. And I feel that I'm still growing, the body's still developing, but it's just that I'm trying to stay away from injuries. As
Sure.
you all know, at this age, if you pick up an injury, then you're out for ages. So I tend to rely more on machines, but I still lift heavy. That's how I feel that I can grow. It's about moving heavy weights.
And Trish, what is as a bikini competitor, what is your training split? How do you break it up over the week? Do you have days off? Do you have scheduled off days?
Yeah, my Sunday is my day off. Everything's been changed around with my sort of training. So Mondays are legs. Tomorrow, I think it's back. And then I've got glutes. And then it goes to legs. And then sort of, I think, a combination of everything. But it's predominantly glutes and legs at the moment, because
Okay.
I need to shift some weight.
you trying to change the way you look? Are you trying to change the way your appearance is for the Olympia, or is
no,
it just...
I mean, because I did the Arnold here in the UK. So I did the Arnold Classic here in the UK in October, and I got 9th in that show. And the feedback was just to make sure I peak right. So they said muscle-wise, I was fine. So for me, it's just training, but trying to hold on to my muscles as much as I can while I'm dieting down, so I don't sort of like lose a lot of my back or lose a lot of my legs. So that's with my training.
Cool. So Shaun is going to be competing for the first time in a long time.
25 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 25 years.
I'm no level compared to you folks. No level at all.
But still, like, Shaun's getting inspired by your stories, my story, and everybody else we interview. If there's any tips you can give Shaun, I'm putting you on the spot, Shaun. So, because he's one of these guys where did compete, then stopped.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people started a family, work, and now they're getting back into it. Any tips for Shaun? Sergio, you go first.
Take as long to diet as you can.
Do your kids live with you, Shaun?
So I have one in college now, and I have a 16-year-old.
16-year-old. Okay. My advice would be try to get away of temptation at home. The cupboards with the chocolates and the cookies, just full all that much.
Yeah. I've been good with that. Sundays is prep day, so generally Sunday will cover me till Wednesday, and then Wednesday we prep again. Because my wife is actually with me as well.
That's
prepping.
Awesome.
So now it's just my son, and he's on a different level. I'm like, look, you can have chicken and rice, chicken and potato, or you can have an omelet, and if you don't want to, then there's stuff in the freezer. Go help yourself.
Why are you torturing this kid?
Well, at first he told me, he says, Dad, I'm going to do it with you. But he goes, I can't keep eating chicken and rice and chicken and potato. I said, well, come to the market with me. We can work on some stuff, But again, he wants a Hot Pocket. He wants a Pop-Tart. I'm like, he's 16. I mean, how can you deprive a 16-year-old?
Yes.
Exactly. So when is the date of your first show?
For me, it's October. I'm still sitting. So as of 24 weeks as of Saturday. So it's October 28th. Yeah. So I've just been easing it very, very nicely. And I got tricked by the mirror. I think it was muscular, but then when I finally took some pictures, I'm like, I'm fluffy. I'm not, there's not a lot of muscle on here. And Vinnie said it very so nicely. He's like, you're holding a lot of fat there. So
listen, I'm from Jersey. If you're not like we're here. I
don't want to sugarcoat it. I told him, don't sugarcoat it.
No, I can't sugarcoat it. I got to be honest, because guys, if you have a coach or somebody, you don't want them to lie to you and say you're ready. You got to be honest. So I was a little brutally honest with him.
And I don't mind. I knew what I was getting into with Vinnie. I knew what I was getting. I said, don't sugarcoat it. Tell me I look terrible. So,
do you guys have support at home also, like wife?
Or you on your own island?
My husband, no, I am the only one who is sort of clean eating.
Okay, he's enjoying life.
Yeah, I'm the only one clean eating at the moment. And I tend to sort of cook their food as well. But it doesn't really bother me because once I flick that switch, I'm okay. I can actually go out and socialize and take my food, and that sort of thing doesn't bother me once I flip the switch. I mean, I baked a lemon drizzle cake 2 days ago, which they enjoyed and ate it, but I didn't get to eat it.
Nice.
But
we're coming to your house after the contest.
Now, I don't have that problem. I live alone, so it's kind of easy to prep everything and be on the ball with things. My 7-year-old daughter, she comes and stays with me every few weekends. But what I tend to do is, because I have to buy her own food, and whenever comes the day for me to take her back to her mom, all the stuff that she left in the fridge on the cupboard, I put everything in one bag and I take it with her. So nothing stays in my house.
That's very smart. That's a smart.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to do that. You got to do that.
100% remove the temptation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are any of you guys going to do, Kelvin or Sergio, Trish, are you going to do any warm-up contests, anything before the Olympia?
I had, like Kelvin had said earlier, I had sort of marked, because there's a UK show. I think it's the 12th. It's 12th of August, which is a couple weeks out. So I had marked that one. I want to do some more prior to that, but at the moment, it's when I come in. So I need to bring my physique to where it's basically, I feel it's stage ready, then have a look. I don't know if I'll be flying over across the pond to do something over there, or if I'll be picking one up in Europe and then hitting the two bros here in the UK and then doing Olympia. But I do plan on lining a few up.
Okay. What about you, Sergio?
No, I don't have any other show in mind, even because I said to you, I wasn't planning to compete this year. So my focus is going to be on the Masters. If during the process, let's say like Trish, 4-6 weeks out, I feel I can jump on the stage, I'll probably would do it. But at the moment, my focus is on the Masters.
Got you. What about you, Kelvin?
Yeah, so originally I did have plans to compete. I was probably going to come over to the States again. I was looking, I think it was a show on the 12th and 19th of August. I think one of them was in Texas and somewhere nearby. I looked on the map. But as soon as I sort of set my heart on the Masters Olympia, and I thought about playing it immediately, but I didn't apply straight away because I sort of took my time, thought about what I was going to write in the sort of resume, and we filmed a little video of me playing. So I took my time with it, make sure I got it in. But once I sort of set my sights on that, I decided if I didn't get accepted, I just wasn't going to compete. I kind of put all my eggs in one basket. So this is my sole focus now. But like the other guys said, if I feel like I'm ready, or if I feel like I could benefit from a trial run, maybe peaking potentially, there's a potential to do it. But I'm very sort of tunnel-minded, and that's it now. I think this is where I want to get sort of. I was thinking I wanted to retire last year. I wanted to try and get to the Olympia, which I very nearly did, and then I was hoping to basically retire as on top I thought as I could ever get. And then this Masters Olympia, because I didn't make the Olympia, became an option. And I thought, well, maybe there's a silver lining. Maybe I didn't qualify for a reason, and this has come at the right time. So that's how I'm feeling about it now. So I really think that I can only really get what I want to get from this show.
Cool.
So are all the winners going to the Olympia, or is it just I saw the men's open, but now is it all the classes?
No, I think all of them, yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Okay. So as we wind down here, folks, somebody had asked, because I have chats here on the side, what are each individual's goals for the Masters, whether you want to say a true placing or if you want to say top 5, top 10. Maybe Trish, we'll start with you. I mean, what's your goal for this? I
would like to be top 3.
Nice.
Okay.
If not top 1. Not gonna lie, that's why we're all going, isn't it? 100%. Who wouldn't? Everyone on that list, I think they're all gonna say the same.
Yeah, I agree with Trish. The goal is to win. I'm not even gonna lie, but I know who I'm up against. So a top 3 would be perfect. Yeah.
And Kelvin?
Obviously, everyone wants to place as high as possible, so winning would be great. But I think with such a standard of competition, I think anything in the top 5, anyone who gets in the top 5 is a superb athlete. Even to be invited is tremendous honor. So anything else is, top 5 would be amazing.
So knock on wood, you make these goals. Do you go back next year? Knock on wood, the show comes back in 24. Do you go back? Or is it too far ahead to ask?
In 2040.
No, 2024.
Oh, okay. I don't think I'll be around.
You're the 80-year-old, the over 80.
I probably will. I'm going to be honest. I probably will. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
So, Trish, we'll start with you. What's your Instagram or Facebook that people can reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out. You can catch me on Patricia _ IFBB Pro.
Nice. And Sergio?
Yeah, my Instagram is Sergio77Lima. Or you can find me at Empire Gym as well. That's my other Instagram page. Yeah.
Empire Gym.
Down there. I'm going to come down and train.
Yeah, you
Is that
should.
your-
You want me that.
Is that your gym, Sergio?
Myself and a few other partners.
Oh, nice. And Kelvin?
Yeah, so I've got a gym called Peak Physique. So my Instagram page is Kelvin at Peak.
Kelvin at Peak.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on and letting everybody get to know you, and when all of us get to know each other. And I'll see you guys in 16 weeks.
Yeah,
And,
see you over there.
Yeah. So
And
for
good
people
luck, Shaun.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And for people that are just joining and whatnot, Sergio and Vinnie are going to be in the same class together, so it'll be
Yes.
very interesting.
yeah, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
looking
be
up at
nice.
him.
No elbowing.
Because I'm
Yeah.
5'6".
You 5'6"? Jesus.
Yeah, I'm five. Well, I used to be 5'8". I don't know what happened. I'm 5'6".
So Vinny, what's your goal?
What?
What's
What's
your
your
goal?
goal?
What's your
What's my goal? Just like you guys, listen, I'm trying to be realistic. Everybody wants to win. I know who I'm going up against. I first just want to crack the top 10, and then whatever happens after that. I want to put on a great show with my posing routine. I want to capture some new fans, and this is a dream come true. I competed in the 90s here in the States. I won the USA back in 1993, my weight class, and I didn't earn a pro card because they only gave it to Chris Cormier. One guy got it. Just one person got it. Not like today. So then I did the nationals for many years and placed from 2nd to 6th on different years, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 2nd, 3rd, and never got my pro card. So this is very emotional for me to be on this stage after literally a long time, a really long time. So do the math. I won the USA in '93, so it's been a long time, long journey, and I respect your guys' journey. I can't wait to see you guys in 16 weeks, and this is going to be great for all of us. It's going to be a great experience, and we're all going to have fun.
Definitely.
Somebody's saying now we'll have to do an update podcast at the end of this. Have all you folks back, hopefully with some medals, some medallions, and whatever else is necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, and folks, thank you so much. And for everybody listening, tune in this Wednesday for Guy Del Corso. And again, from the UK and the USA, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks.
Good night, guys.
Everyone.
Good night, guys. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.